Welcome to Fred Hall 2019. My name's Butch Brown. I like to fish for trophy bass with swim baits. I've documented a lot of them on film, so that's sort of why they got me up here. Normally I have a screen down there for you to see, but I got lazy this year and didn't want to bring it. So you didn't have to hear me talk, you could just watch. A little bit of background about me. I was born and raised in Thousand Oaks, California. Raised on a lake called Lake Sherwood. Fished there my whole life till I was about 16 years old, and then my parents separated and I ended up living in the San Fernando Valley. I've always been one that wanted to catch the biggest bass, around if I could catch them, especially like spawning time when I'd see them. When I was a kid, I fished all the baits, spinner baits, crankbaits, worms, jigs, did it all. But I never could reach, that 10-pound class fish on that kind of stuff. I have caught a few once I got to the lakes that had the Florida bass, but that particular lake didn't have it. One thing about the big bass that I always thought was pretty neat was the fact that they were really hard to catch. I got to learn that they were old and they got really, really big eyes and they're smart. And I think that you have to think out of the box a little bit. You just can't go out and just take a bait out and go. There is the exception to the rule where that happens, but I've documented enough fish on film and throughout my life that I feel that I can sit up here and tell you my thoughts on it. And when I talk to you, I'm talking to you about my way, my experiences, not what's written in a book, not what's folklore or whatever, field and stream kind of stuff. It's just me and my experiences. And I find it's a little easier to talk to you people if I just tell you the truth about what I do, instead of trying to make up fancy things like, fast following your bait out and things like that. So when I speak to you, I'm speaking to you about 10-pound fish and up. I respect smaller fish. I catch smaller fish. I'll save my day to catch smaller fish if I have to, but what I'm going to talk to you about mainly is about catching the biggest fish that you can possibly catch in your lakes. The 1,600 fish that I've amassed, over 10 pounds, have all come within 100 miles of this place right here. Cascade, Lake Casitas, Lake Piru, they're all LA County lakes, maybe Ventura County lakes, but that's where I did the damage. And I moved out there about 30 years ago. I was one of the first ones to launch at the lake, and I liked the afterbay. And I got my first taste of a 10-pound bass about my second trip out there on a twin spin. Well, big baits weren't out yet. We didn't put it together. But I found that there was no reason to leave fish to find fish. I had a lake here that had keeners in it, and it's like I had the goose that laid the golden eggs, so why should I go fish all these other lakes? That didn't intrigue me. I wanted to master that lake, catch those fish consistently, and I was able. Do they have that? Like that stringer right there was caught probably in about 45 minutes. Most of the big stringers that you see me hold, there's some on YouTube. There's some 64-pound limits with an 18-pound fish kicker in a minute. Most of those fish are caught within 1 hour. They're only in the live well for a short time, and then I got to find a guy to take my picture. I have the video camera in there, but pictures, I like to find somebody so that way if you call me on it, I could say, well, call that guy right there, and he was the one that took all the pictures. They're all on swim baits, and one of the first swim baits that really made me popular and made me think differently about big bass was not so much this bait right here that I'm going to show you in a minute, but if you ever punch up Huddleston Deluxe, Butch Brown Huddleston, I caught the largest bass ever caught on film, 19 pounds, 3 ounces, on that bait right there, full cast and catch. You see the whole thing. It's on YouTube. You know, so there's no editing at all. It's the straight stuff. And a lot of times, because I'm old school and I had a Sony camera that, you know, they didn't have GoPro back then, I would leave the timer on there so you could actually see that nothing was done on that piece of film. And I also was told that somebody wanted to copy my film, that they couldn't get rid of that timer. So I saved it for myself for one day when I have somebody take all my footage and make videos out of it. And I've probably got about 400 fish, over 10 pounds, many keeners on the film, and someday I will have a video with all that, but I'm not ready for that yet in my life. I'm a drywall contractor. That's what I do for a living. I'm not a professional fisherman. I don't fish many tournaments, except when I do fish them. I fish them strictly for fun, and if we win something, then that's great. And the ones that I do fish are at night, because it's so hot in the daytime that you know, it's just nice to get out and have a good time with a friend. But the Huddleston Deluxe caught me a lot of fish. I have 2 years in my life on the Castaic Afterbay, where this bait, I had 128 over 10 one year and 107 on another year. And Bassmaster came out to lift the 100th one to do an article, which they did do. Those were incredible years. I used to average anywhere from 50 to 70 fish over 10 pounds every year. That's not the case nowadays because they've shut trout stocking down, and the fish are, there's 10 pounders in there, but the ones I'm really after, the supersize, I have to travel, and I travel north from my house, where I'm one of the last houses before you go over the Grapevine. And I won't tell you where I go, but I go over the Grapevine and travel about 150 miles, and that's where I like to fish if I'm looking for keeners now. This bait right here is a depth slide swimmer 250. Probably one of the hottest baits on the market right now. This bait right here I kept off the market in a bass fisherman sort of way, where anything that popped, I got wind of this bait before it came out, and then they made a bigger one. But they had lousy colors. They're from Japan. Okay, it's a silent bait. It's got a rubber skin. When the hooks hit the side of it, it makes no noise whatsoever. You know, so it swims like a fish, because fish don't make noise when they swim. So to me, it's got everything. They hit it right on the head with it. It's a glide bait. It has no bill or anything like that, so it looks pretty natural. That color right there is a color that just came out, and they're all sold out. It's a hatchery trout, Butch brown hatchery trout. I'm a drywaller, but I got my name on a lure, and a couple of them actually. So I think that's pretty cool. But as you can see, there's displays down here. I create colors for the American anglers. They're only sold here in America. They're not sold in Japan. They're sent to us through the importer, and then they sell them. And you know, guys like to flip them and stuff, but they're not cheap. They go for about 150 bucks to 170 bucks a piece. They're pretty expensive. Pretty easy bait to fish if you just want to cast it out and just straight wind it. You get it going. It's nice and graceful. It's natural. You know, it sort of just does its thing. They sink slow. They have special things you can put in them in the nose to make them sink quicker if you want to fish deep water. But when I fish deep water with these, I always fish them uphill. And I like to fish them with no extra stuff on them at all. Simply because the more weight you add, when you stop the bait out there and you have a fish that's following you, well, the bait just sinks to the bottom. And fish just don't sink to the bottom. They sort of suspend and do stuff. You can see it sort of moves a little bit when it sinks. I create colors for the Depths company. This is a Depths 250 slide swimmer, Butch brown. But I create colors for the American market, and I usually come out with 4 different colors a year: winter, spring, summer, and fall. I come out with 2 different trout patterns, one in the winter and one in the fall. And then I usually come out with a bass or a carp or a bluegill kind of color in the summer months and springtime. Okay. When I first got this bait, they didn't have good colors. They had one, carp. Excellent color. Every lake has carp. Okay. The one thing about carp is we never see the babies. Okay. They spawn like crazy. There's thousands of them. They have 500,000 eggs in their belly. But not in my whole life have I ever caught a small carp. And even when I was a kid shad fishing, I've never netted them. So when I see the volume of carp spawning versus the volume of eggs that go in every year, I got a hunch that bass feed on them pretty good. So carp is an excellent color, and I have my own carp colors because carp are all different colors too. When you start looking at them, they're like koi or something like that. They have different shades. Same thing with trout. If you ever go to the hatchery, they're different, a lot of different colors. They're, you know, it's just amazing. But that's why I create different colors, because you sort of can't go wrong, you know, because they don't get to see the same thing every time. They had a trout color, and I told them it sucked. Once they got a hold of me, or once I got a hold of them, and I showed them the video footage that I had, and I probably had about 100 fish on film for them to see in about maybe a 2-year span. And I thought to myself, maybe I can have a little bit of a legacy in the bass fishing world as far as swim baiting, because it's sort of unique. It's a different style of fishing. It's a young gun kind of thing. And I was able to approach them through some friends, and they asked me about what I wanted and everything, and I never thought about that. I told them I wanted a video. That's all I wanted. I didn't want a bait named after me, because I was painting their own baits myself. Well, they saw the footage. They said, give him whatever he wants. So now I have my own colors. I get royalties for every one that's sold, and so I do pretty well. Pretty neat feeling. But like I said, it's a glide bait. It's one of the game changers in the bass fishing world as far as swim baits. At the beginning of time, it was things that had like the boot tails like these. That's what we had to fish with back then. We had the AC plugs, we had wake baits similar to this one here. But the next game changer that came along was actually the huddle switch, because it's got that wedge tail on it. It's completely different. That bait there, I like to slow roll on the bottom. I lighten it up, and I just swim it to the depths, and it's very, very effective. I'll get into that in a minute, but this bait right here is one of the top big bass catchers that has ever been produced, and it's still selling hot to this day, and so is this one right here. So if I was going fishing, I would definitely, and I was looking for a double-digit lifetime fish, teener, lake record, whatever you're thinking, these would be the 2 baits that I would have on the boat, and the rest really doesn't matter to me. I don't target the smaller fish, even though I do have smaller baits here. The white on the back is strictly so I can see it in the water, because I can't see what's going on in here. But this bait here is a glide bait. It's very, very graceful, you know. You can go slow with it, you know, you can sort of turn it around, you know, you can do all kinds of things. You can go under docks, so you can just keep working it over and work that thing under a dock, you know, and get bit. You know, you don't have to just straight wind it. You know, if you throw it and you miss your target and you're off a little bit and you want to be on that side, well, just get the bait going over here. Just work it over. And it'll just keep going under those docks, right next to those trees, you know. Does a lot of things once you learn how to use it. The bite on this bait is not a crushing bait. When you get bit on these by big bass, a lot of times it's just a tick. That's all it is. So when you're out there in nowhere land and you feel something that doesn't normally feel like the bait, swing. It's usually a big bass that's swimming the same speed, and then he comes up and pops it, and bingo, you're on. It's a draw draw kind of bait where they like to follow it a lot in the water. And when you see that start to happen, there's signs that you look for. If they're right hot on the bait, on the back of the bait, but maybe you don't get bit right away, you're going to get bit that day because they're feeding, they're on it. If they're staying back or they're staying down, then you gotta pay attention. You know, if you see that fish, say you make a long cast and you see that big black shadow coming along, and he's a little behind it and stuff, you need to. And if you look at my videos, you see me go through this. You know, when they're doing this to me. But then that's when you need to decide to change it up out there. You know, turn it around and put it in his face or speed it up a little bit. You know, because he's just swimming along looking at that trout. Well, the minute you change it up, he's thinking, in my opinion, that trout just detected me and is trying to get away. I'm going to eat it. And a lot of times they'll fire up and eat the bait. When I fish deep water, I just throw it out. I let it sink nice and easy, just like that. And then, you know, you might want to give it a little pop just to get it going. And then just slow roll it in. You know, make it look like the real deal. You know, don't make it look like like you're just casting and winding. You know, make it look like the trout that you see swimming, you know, at the hatchery when they stock. You know, make it look like that. I changed the hooks on the bait from the original. The original hooks are silver. Every swim bait that I use that's a hard bait, no matter what it is, all has bronze hooks on it. I don't fish silver hooks on any of those baits whatsoever. None of them. Okay? They're all changed to bronze. That one's black, but that's a sample from Japan. I changed them out to a Gamakatsu round bend, 2-aught in the front, 1-aught in the back. I keep the 1-aught in the back because I think the 2-aught's a little too much. And sometimes it swings around and it catches into the rubber. And but that's just part of fishing. You know, every lure fouls. You know, you can't get around it. It's just life of fishing. So it's the way it is. I don't use any scent on it whatsoever. Strictly because the scents have oils, like grease kind of oils, and they'll rot it. There's a guy in here that's got one, that got bait made or something pro-cure or something over time, and then it hardens the rubber, and then it'll crack, and then your lure is sort of worthless. So no bait scent at all on this type of bait. When it comes to the rubber baits, I like to use garlic scent. That's my favorite of all. I have videos where you see me put it on, and the next crack you see me catch them. Multiple videos of that. It's all I've ever used. You know, I use the Bang. Works on there really good. That's actually my favorite one of all is the Bang. I don't know who makes it. I forget, but Walmart carries it. But yeah, definitely bronze hooks on this thing. Weighs about 6 ounces. They have them here at the show, a handful. Not many, because as soon as they get wind that they're going to be released in one of my colors, they're sold out immediately. So, and the guys on my Facebook page, if I could only show you the amount of double-digit bass that I get pictures from people and stuff, it's amazing. And that sort of makes me feel pretty good, you know, because I can't fish all the lakes. When I had this bait, I could go to Paris, I could go to any lake I wanted to because no one had it. If anybody talked about it on the internet, I made sure that I kept track if anybody talked about it, but no one talked about it, and I wasn't going to say anything. And back at that time, I don't think there was a thing called Facebook or anything. It was Swim Bait Nation at the time. But I could go at will to any lake all year long and catch 10-pound bass. Paris, it didn't matter. And it was because they hadn't seen it before, and it was a pretty unique bait. But I can't fish it everywhere, so why not share it? I was a little bummed, but you know, like I said, I get paid for it, and it's nice. It's nice to put back in the pot what you've gotten out of it, you know, to see other people catch fish. I fish it on 20-pound line. I use Seagar Braze X, 20-pound fluorocarbon. I don't ever use anything over 20 for bass fishing. You know, I get it if you're learning how to throw the bait, or you're fishing over trees, or you're fishing striper. I get it. Go 25, go 30 if that's what you want. Me personally, 20-pound of Braze X. It sinks with the bait. It doesn't float. The knot, I've tested it enough. The knot strength is good. I use a Palomar knot on it. That's all I ever use. And I even use that when I catch 300-pound tuna. I use a Palomar. I'm just one of those kind of guys. As far as rods are concerned, just get yourself an 8-foot heavy rod. They go, you get them from 80 bucks to $800-900 bucks. Okay, I don't pay $800 or $900 bucks for a rod, and I never would. But they happen to make the bait, and they send me the rods, but I had them make it for what I like. And I used to buy a Loomis 957 swim bait rod, and I buy what I want and I buy what I use. I don't chase sponsors to get free rods. I don't go to a line company and say I need your line because I'm throwing it. I go to the store and I buy exactly what I want to use. I get stuff in the mail from people and I send it right back because I don't have enough time in my life, enough time on the water to experiment with somebody else's stuff, and I've already got something that's working for me, and I've proven it on video. So I buy everything. I buy my own Shimano reels, even though they say we'll give you whatever you want. Get my own stuff, okay? And a Calcutta 400 is the reel of choice for me. It's a workhorse. I never have problems with it. I fish sometimes 300 days a year, 200 days a year for bass, and I don't maintain them. I don't lube them. I might spray WD when I realize it's not casting nice, but they just last and last and last, and I love them. Seems like nowadays everybody's trying to go small, smaller the better, all that kind of stuff. I'm not, I'm strong enough, I'm 60 years old, I can hold this rod and reel. It's not hard for me. So anyways, depth slide swimmer 250, Butch brown color, double-digit bass. I can't say enough about it. It's a fantastic bait. If you just want to learn and get started at this kind of stuff, like swim baiting, sometimes you need to go and deal with a little bit smaller bait that's a little bit more forgiving, and that's a depth 175. A little bit smaller than that one. Does the same thing, okay? But this bait will get you bit by a lot of the smaller fish. Pound, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pound. I've never caught a 10-pounder on it, okay? But then again, I don't fish it as much as I fish at 250, Not even 0.5% of my time is spent fishing with smaller baits because I'm really not really interested in it. And I have a time when I do fish these smaller baits. In all the years I fished, I kept track of the moon in the way of not so much full or anything like that, but in the way of, is it visible in the sky in the daytime? And I found that in swim baiting, that if that moon is visible in the daytime, I'm not going to catch a double-digit bass. Because every time I catch one of these things, over hundreds I've kept track of, the moon is not there. Either it just goes down, or it just hasn't come up yet. But when I fish, if it's 9 o'clock in the morning and the moon's coming up, I'm usually going to get serious and do my damage before that moon comes up. Once the moon comes up, I know my chances have diminished a bit, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and salvage my day, and I'm just going to go and have fun, or I'm going to go home and do honeydew and take care of things, and then come back when the moon is right. So I keep track of the moon, but I find that the smaller fish eat, it doesn't matter if the moon's up or not. I never really kept track, but I catch a lot of fish that way anyways. I like to fish the nicest, sunniest, calmest days that you could imagine out there. I'm not big on, it doesn't matter to me if it's windy. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm a fair weather fisherman. Most of the fish that I catch are between 9 o'clock in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. You know, that seems to be my favorite time to catch them. And I don't know if it's because most of the boaters are leaving the lake by 9 o'clock and then nothing is disturbed, or I don't know what it is. But that's when I get bit the best on the bait. I forgot what I was going to say. Some of the other baits that I like to fish are baits like the thumper tail. I've caught a lot of big ones on that. Usually before the show, I'll go to the lake a couple days before, and I'll fish the bait so that I have fresh video to show you people. And then I'll mention something that I recently might have seen in the newspaper, so that way you can gauge it that, no, he didn't catch it last year for the show for this year. He knew that this happened, and so it's sort of like the way it is. And that's what I do on my videos. I make sure that after I catch one of these big fish, because usually you don't see anybody around me, I do a complete 360. So you can see there's no one around whatsoever. And it works. There's no biologist out there that I feel can tell you any different when it comes to swim baiting and the hours that I pick, because every article that I've ever read, it's like morning and evening bite and this and that. Well, I kept track of it. I fish, I throw swim baits, so I'm not going to listen to that biologist. You know, and I've had them with me. They told me that everything I do is completely different from what's read, what's folklore, what's fairy tale, whatever you want to call it, what sounds good, you know, field and stream, whatever, what makes a great article. No. One thing I didn't mention before about that depth 250 is during my life of fishing, I always had a little bit harder time catching double-digit fish in those hot times of the year, like from July to August, call it September, super hot out. It was a narrow bite in the morning, very narrow bite. And I tried to force feed them for about 2 or 3 years of my life and fished the Host and the Lux. Well, I've logged 280 hours on the water casting without a single bite in the summertime, you know, until I finally got them. You know, so I did the math. I did it for a couple of years, and I just didn't have anything that was consistent. The only thing that I had that worked pretty good was like a big wake bait in the summer in clear water. When it's calm, I get bit on this pretty good. This bait right here changed everything. I feel, in my opinion, the hottest day that you can fish, this bait shines above all the rest. Because once I put this bait on during the summer months, I ate them up. I mean, I just was just right there is proof, that picture right there, and a lot of them you see on YouTube. The damage was already done, you know, middle of the afternoon, it didn't matter. 107 degrees, get home from doing drywall, run over to the lake, get there by 2, go out. An hour later, I got a 10-pound bass on film. Well, I'm going to go home and have a beer. I'm done. That's it. You know, I got footage. I got another one, you know, and I live 1.1 miles from the launch ramp thanks to my wife, because she moved me out there so I wouldn't have to drive so far. So that made it very convenient too. When fishing was very good, being as I'm self-employed, it was easy to have my workers working, and I take care of them very well. And it was easy for me to be on the water, you know, probably about 5 days a week. You know, it gets a little old after a while. Sometimes if you're on the water every day for a couple of weeks and nothing's happened, you need to take a couple of weeks off, think about things a little bit differently, because you get into a mode where you're just hitting the same spots, doing the same thing, nothing's happening. take a break from fishing for a little bit, go do something else, clean out whatever your wife wants you to clean, and come back and then think about things completely different. And usually it pays off for you. The other bait I was going to mention is this bait right here. Okay, this is a bait that was one of the original baits, rubber baits to come out for swim baiting. That was called a thumper tail. Originally it was called an osprey, or an osprey is another company. Okay, and they used to have a lead head in the head and then a hook that came out the back. Well, I lost 5 double-digit bass in a row. On film, I still have that footage to this day because of that hook. I had him right there next to the boat. And it's in a spot where Ronnie here used to be down fishing in the morning with me. So he knows where that spot is. Well, that day, I cut that hook off and I rigged it the way I rigged my Huddlesters. Okay? This is called a Butch Brown rig, but it's really just a rig. Okay? But it's known as a Butch Brown rig. It's 60-pound wire with an A2 sleeve, and I rig it with a DMC hook. And the reason for that is because the smaller sizes in a DMC have a bigger barb. And when you're hooking a big bass on a bait that weighs this much, and they're coming up and throwing the bait, they throw the baits out. So you need something with a barb that's going to stay in them. When you get the smaller Gamakatsu hook down there, their barb is really small. Find that they throw that a lot, unless it's like on a crankbait or something. But I redesigned this bait from the old style, and you sort of see that dark spot in the middle is where I place the weight now. And then when if you hit rocks or something, there's a wire here that you can bend, straighten it out. And then the hook just comes around. There's a little groove I made on the top. And the reason for this is I figured if they're going to import my baits and help me, why not turn them on to what I used to do with their bait, in the past. So they let me make this bait. You don't see anything sticking up here. When they pour them, most of the time it's designed so that the tie is inside the bait. So you don't see the knot, okay? Like I said, you got to think out of the box a little bit. LA County, they've seen everything we've got. They see traffic, they see boats, they see absolutely everything. You got to be as smart as the fish are. So this bait just tucks right in. When I get bit, it flexes, and I don't lose very many fish. But then again, I don't fight my fish very long at all. Once I get bit, I wind them straight. I keep them coming. I don't let them turn. I don't let them jump. I hold my rod down, and I know I got one shot, and I got about 5 seconds to get that fish once I get him up in the corner, right next to my boat. In my boat, I have a net that's on this side. It's been there for 30 years. I put no Coke cans, no trash, no hooks, no lures. I put nothing over there, just that net. So as soon as I hook up, I have my cameras always running. I don't just turn it on. It runs all day, okay, until I have to change the battery. But I already know in my head that when that fish is coming, I don't have to look. I don't have to look. I don't have to look, because I'm looking to catch a big bass. If you're not ready, well, things happen. So as soon as I hook that fish, I know where my net is. I can shut my eyes. I can reach down like that. It's in my hand. So as soon as he's coming up and he's down there, I don't pull him up to the top yet, because that's when they're going to throw it. If they're going to throw it, well, I've already got the net in my hand, and then I just pull back like that, and I got one swat at it, and you can see most of the time I get them. I do have fails, but most of them I catch, and you know what? If you don't have that fish in your hand for a picture, then it doesn't mean a thing. Stories and stories, okay? The one thing about catching big bass is you're going to remember it your whole life. You're going to remember a long time. When I watch the videos, I remember everything that happened that day. I've got so many that it's sort of a blur, because you can only wear so many black sweatshirts and take pictures of fish. They all look the same. We only have so many hats to wear, so they all look the same. Well, when I was really super hot at catching them, Kenny Hostin said, put that camera in the boat. And when he said put the camera in the boat, it just changed the whole game, So instead of having two pictures that look the same and you're trying to figure out if that's the same one that you showed me last week, no, you've got the footage to prove it. That's what I had to do. Because like I said, I only have so many fish to throw. But anyways, this bait right here is a good bait to be throwing in Southern California right now. Not so much the slide swimmer, strictly because it has that big tail, sort of like a spinner bait. You can throw a spinner bait, you can throw this bait right here. It's not a roll it on the bottom bait. Guys, when it came out, it just didn't click for them. You know, they're thinking, God, I got it on the bottom and it just lays there and it just sort of, you know, it just lays on its side and it's just sort of not, you know. No, cast it out and start winding it. Get it down to the depth you want, start winding it. It's a search bait. With these other baits, you have to go sort of slow to cover water. And if you can't be on top of your fish and you go fishing every couple of weeks, you got to find them. You got to find where the bites are. You got to find out what's going on. This bait, for me, is I go to these lakes and I just get it down there and I start going down the bank and I just start casting like a crankbait. Okay, just cast it, you start winding. Boom, I got bit there where I just caught one. Okay, I keep a mental note where I catch every bite that I got, and I'm able to cover a lot of shoreline in a short period of time. Versus the other baits, I can't, and I can work it in all different water columns. Because we have the muddy water going right now, the tail, they'll be able to find the bait much better. So definitely a good bait to have for that. I think in the murkier water, I do very much better on it than clear water because they can see better in the clear. But just cast it out and wind it. And now that I design it the way it is, if you notice it swims level. Before, with the weight in the front, it swims on an angle, okay? And now it swims nice and level, it swims clean. It should be swimming like a trout, but I can't see it in there. But it should be looking pretty good. You just start winding. Some guys seem to have a problem when they cast it out, it sinks, and it sort of does this, and I want it to do that. But what happens is the line will get caught in the hook, like that. Well, what they're doing is they're casting it out, and in their deeper water, they start pulling line off. You don't do that, okay? Because then your line is straight up and down, and then you end up getting it all tangled. When you throw it out, this bait right here, you know, and it's like any bait. You got to learn how to use the bait, you know. Just because you opened up the package and you cast it out doesn't mean that you know what you're doing. Throw it out, give the line a little bit of a pull, and just let it sink down. Keep the line tight or just slowly wind it till it hits the bottom, and then go. If you're going to go deep water, you know, if you're not going to go deep water, just cast it out and start winding. But this is a 9-inch bait. It's called a Butch Brown Thumper Tail. This is one of the newest colors right here. It's called an Emerald Trout. They got them over at the Optimum booth for sale here. I don't know what the prices are. I'm not in charge of that stuff. I go fishing and I get to come up here because it's sort of like part of my deal, but I sort of like it in a way. So, and I don't have to wear all the fancy stuff. I can look just like everybody else here, you know. So I like that too. I like to be comfortable. We do make a smaller one. That's this one right here. It's a 6-inch, but it's a small 6-inch. I get bit on it all the time. If on those days when I'm not looking for the big fish and I'm just looking to catch smallmouth or largemouth or you know, the little stripers and stuff where I live, I'll throw this bait because I can have a lot of fun, you know, with this bait. It comes the same way. It has the hook on the top, just a little smaller version. Okay, very forgiving, easy for young people to learn how to throw. You know, you can throw it hard and not snap it. 12-pound mono, not floral. Floral seems to break in the lighter lines when you're casting, so I don't ever use the, under 20, I don't use floral. So when it comes to big baits, because you're going to lose your baits. But this is a little bitty bait, gets bit. If you just want to go out and have fun and get bit by whatever's in there swimming and get bit on a swim bait, stuff like this is great. When you start fishing the bigger baits, it's a little bit more selective on the fish that are going to be coming, and eating your bait. But I like to target the biggest thing I can whenever I'm throwing swim baits. When I get bid, what's ever in my mind is always big. Even though I get the smallest bite, sometimes I'll even get a crappie to hit that thing, or I'll even get a smallmouth that big on a 10-inch bait. Well, when they first hit it, 10-pound clicks in my mind. So I'm always ready for that fish. I can't say much more about it other than in the summertime. Sometimes I like to go to the bluegill baits, you know, like in the late or the spring when the spawn is over and stuff. They like to chase bluegill around. Very, very effective. I've only caught a handful of 10-pounders on that kind of stuff, but this stuff here, if you're looking for trophy fish, you do what I'm telling you, you put your time in, you're going to end up holding a big old bass on a stringer. You're not on a stringer, but you're going to have to take care of that fish, and you're going to end up letting it go. But you're going to have pictures that'll last forever, and maybe somebody else will catch that fish. So they're telling me I have to go. I thank you very much for coming to the Craig Hall Show, and I'll see you guys later. I got a handful of baits here to toss around.